Welcome to Boating Industry Insider, where we talk to executives, thought leaders, and movers and shakers from both inside and outside the marine industry. Now here's your host, David G.
Boating fun in the Miami sun. We are talking Miami International Boat Show. We're doing it with Adam Quandt, the editor-in-chief of Boating Industry. I'm David G., host of Boating Industry Insider. Welcome to the show, Adam. Glad to have you here.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here, David. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I think it's the first time you have been a guest on Boating Industry Insider. How did that take so long? Wow.
Right?
Well, anyway, we're remedying it. Easy for me to say. Better late than never. So, you spent the better part of a week with Leslie Palmer, sales director of Boating Industry, walking the docks, talking the talk. Top line takeaways. What was your impressions of this year's Miami International Boat Show?
I think walking right into it, top line, people are still wanting to get out on the water. I know going into it, a lot of talk around the industry was a big question mark, and I think we're coming out of it feeling pretty well. So that's kind of the top line feelings about it so far.
What were you attended a lot of press events. I know you had told me on the phone when we debriefed immediately after that it was at least, if not the most crowded press schedule you've had in attending, Miami and Fort Lauderdale and the big shows. Tell me a little bit about that and what you thought some of the highlights were in terms of the introductions.
Yeah, I think a lot of things. Looking at the past few years across the industry, we haven't really seen as much innovation. A lot of it based on, we've just been crazy busy as an industry. We've been trying to keep up with orders, trying to deal with supply chain issues, and now those things are normalizing a little bit. So we're starting to see a lot more innovation and new things return to the industry. And I think that was really prominent at this year's Miami show. You had new boat models coming out, new accessories. I know, just for example, Boston Whaler, dropped 2 new models. We saw a lot of new concept ideas from, both Yamaha with their hydrogen outboard and Mercury with some concept electric outboards. So we're starting to see, that innovation, whether it be alternative fuels or new boats altogether, or even accessories. We're starting to see that innovation and that R&D start to come forward again in the industry.
And speaking of innovation, you were an NMMA Innovation Award judge, were you not?
I was indeed. It was a lot of fun. It was a busy couple days with the judges there, but it's always a good experience to see and get a little more in depth with these new products.
For those in our listening audience who haven't done that, either as an entrant, award winner, or judge, take us a little bit behind the scenes. Tell us what that's like, what you do for those couple of days, and kind of the net takeaway of that experience.
Yeah, so NMMA does the Innovation Awards at 3 of their Discover Boating shows, including Miami, as well as Minneapolis, and then IBEX for more of the trade focus kind of building component side. They partner with an organization in the industry called Boating Writers International, which I'm a part of, to use the members of that association as judges for the program. Kind of industry experts in various fields, from electronics to all around the whole boat model, and everything in between. So what we do is we kind of, go through the entrance and kind of look at the products from top to bottom. We're looking for not just the cool new thing, but truly innovative. So that's kind of the toughest thing for us as judges too, is to kind of differentiate between that, what might be a hot new product and what is truly innovative for the industry. So I think that's one thing that people don't always understand about the program when they hear the awards. It's, that was a really cool boat and it was really well put together and it'll do great in the marketplace. But, some of the things we saw on the boat weren't necessarily brand new to the industry, just kind of in a brand new package. So that's been, kind of the differentiating thing between the awards and say like Boating Industry's Top Products Awards, where we are looking at a little bit more on the product side alone. So yeah, the judges get together. I think there were 7 of us on the panel for Miami this year. we get together a couple days before the show opens, so we're dodging forklifts and dodging carpet rolls as we're going through the show floor to see the new products. But we give it's a busy schedule for the judges. We give each entrant about 5 minutes to kind of give us the quick elevator speech of the product and walk us through it, and then we spend a good part of a 3/4 of the day deliberating, going through all of these products and discussing, and then eventually deciding winners. So that's a little bit behind the scenes, but it's a fun process, and it's kind of cool to get a little behind the scenes look at the Miami show, for example, being put together.
Well, we certainly have some experience with our Boating Industry Elevate conference that we have. And by the way, we have dates for the next one, so I'll share that a little later in the show. But we certainly have an insight into how much work that is, but nothing on the scale of a Miami or Fort Lauderdale. So I'm sure it is really cool to be there a couple days before and watch these booths and exhibits and the boats get brought in. That must be a cool process to be able to witness.
Definitely, definitely.
So Frank Hugemeyer, speaking of Elevate, was on our State of the Boating Industry panel that led the 2023 Boating Industry Elevate Summit Conference in Dallas, Texas this year, and is joined by Gus Blakely and several other industry noteworthies. And we talked, of course, about a lot of industry events, the opportunities, headwinds, challenges. He always gives the State of the Industry breakfast in summary in Miami. So this year I wasn't there, but you were, and looking through his PowerPoint deck, which is available online for anybody who would like to look at that, as well as the video of his entire presentation. So he had consumer sentiment, wages, employment, dealer inventories, all in the good column. Interest rates, housing market, fuel prices, credit availability, consumer debt, all in the caution category. Good news, nothing flagged, nothing residing in the trouble category. So no red flag sitting anywhere. I'm sure you had a chance to not only listen to the presentation, but debrief and talk about it with people afterwards. What was the kind of the overriding sentiment of what Frank Hugemeyer, the head of National Marine Manufacturers Association, had to say?
I think especially for those of us that were at IBEX too, it was very similar, and what those of us heard at Elevate this year, and what Frank said, it was all very similar. These are issues that have not really caught us by surprise. These are things we're looking at. The industry is not falling off a cliff. I think that's kind of the top line thing from Frank's speech. But we're normalizing, and it's something we expected. We couldn't, unfortunately, keep, the pandemic sales forever. I think the biggest thing, and Frank and I have had this conversation outside of his speeches as well, is, the biggest thing is, as an industry, we have been focused on bringing new people into boating for as long as I've been involved and beyond. So the biggest thing to think of is, the pandemic brought new people into boating. So even if some of them leave and we do normalize, we're still bringing new people into the industry. I don't think we can rest on that, but I do think, this is something that we need to remember, and we need to focus on these new people that we brought in and make sure they stay in it as best we can. So I kind of think that was the top line, in line with Frank's speech as well. The NMMA is doing a great job with their Discover Boating campaign, and their partners as well in that campaign. They're focusing on making the waters more diverse, bringing in new crowds, bringing in younger people, you name it. I think looking at this industry, like I said, we're not falling off a cliff, and I think that was Frank's main point too. I think Frank's really point that he really hit home on was, we need to readjust. We need to sales don't just walk through the door anymore. Yeah. But we need to take care of the people that are coming into our industry now, and that's I think was the main takeaway.
Yeah, one of the things that NMMA and MRAA both always emphasize is that I think that when it comes to those kinds of boating programs, when it comes to legislative involvement, it's easy to kind of leave that to other people and say, well, yeah, you do that. But one of the things that I think is a good reminder is that it's really incumbent on all of us who love boating to grow boating, that it shouldn't be the purview of some industry trade associations, but it's incumbent on all of us to share our love of the water, to share if we have boats, if we have personal watercraft, if we're going fishing, to share those experiences with people, particularly people who haven't been exposed to the water. We all think that, or we all realize that sometimes all it takes is just getting somebody on the water to really say that, wow, this is cool. I love that. I so enjoyed that. Maybe that's something I would consider being a part of. So just a reminder that all of us who love boating should want to grow boating, and that we shouldn't just leave it to others. Let's go back to some of those metrics you just alluded to. New powerboat unit sales are slowing. 2022, 2023, 2024, all are going to look very similar in sales levels, projected obviously for 2024, right around the 270,000 units mark. Frank is looking for. Of course, as you alluded to Adam, not near the 300,000 unit sales of the pandemic high watermark, but still well above post 07, 08. Even, those years following the recession, 2012 through 2016, we're still a good, 20, 30,000 units above that. So really, as you say, yeah, we're not at and it's not just boating. I mean, it's the entire outdoor recreation industry. I was in Colorado before the Christmas break and asking an outdoor outfitter how business was. And he said, yeah, it's not pandemic levels, but boy, it's just as good as 2019 was. And 2019 was a really good year. So we do have to kind of adjust our expectations a little bit, don't we?
Yeah, most definitely. And I think too, just kind of, like I said a little bit ago, it's changing that mindset. But like I said, we're not falling off a cliff, and that's what Frank and the MMA echo as well. We knew we were going to see normalization, and it's time to keep our foot on the gas and keep moving forward and be thankful for what we have in the industry and keep pushing forward.
We or you include some of these metrics in the boating industry state of the industry issue every year, where you look not just at new and used unit sales, but also total spending. There is some good news there that total spending on, pro shops aftermarket, that remains strong and steady. So again, just a good reminder to the dealer audience that, it's not just unit sales. It's not just, new and used boats, but it can be, it can be your pro shop, your aftermarket. So that's always a really strong incremental revenue opportunity that sometimes it's a little easy to let fall by the wayside, since we're concentrating on getting new and used boats out the door, right?
Yeah, most definitely. I think I go back often to one of our top 100 dealers and the conversation I had with them. They said, the guy can, anybody can come into our shop looking like anything. A person can walk in and cargo shorts, flip flops, and disheveled hair, and we can't assume if they're there to buy, a $500,000 boat or a $500 kayak. And because we can't assume that, we treat everybody the same.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing that retailers especially need to think of is, everybody gets the same experience no matter what they're there for, because even if they are there for that, even a $50 pair of sunglasses,
yeah,
they'll remember that experience when they do want to buy a boat.
Yeah, absolutely. So also at Elevate, we had Jeff Wassel, the NMMA Director of Environmental Health and Safety Compliance, as well as representatives from Hyperfuels in Brunswick, talking about, so a year ago we did electrification. This year we kind of pivoted to sustainable fuels. 100% renewable diesel, partially renewable gasoline, biobutanol, all on the water right now, reducing CO2 emissions by up to 75%, as well as reducing hydrocarbons and soot as well. What were you hearing about sustainable fuels as well as electrification? It felt like electrification was really all the buzz for a while. Now that seems to be quieting down a little bit in favor of sustainable fuels. What was your sense of that particular subject area at Miami?
Yeah, I think, as we kind of pivoted at boating industry with our content as well to kind of embrace sustainable fuels, alternative fuels, as well as electric propulsion and those options as well. I think the industry is very similar right now. Obviously, I think electric takes a lot of the spotlight just because, especially when it comes to consumers, there are the similarities in mindset as they look toward, electric automobiles, things like that. So it's a comfortability thing in what they know about electric already on that side. So I think it is flipping that mindset here in the industry, boating industry as well. But we are starting to focus, and I think rightly so, on the expanded view of sustainability rather than just focusing on electric. And that was very much prominent in Miami this year. During the industry breakfast, the president of ICOMIA came and presented on a research study that NMMA did in part with them, as well as some other industry stakeholders. And that was kind of the basis of it. We have a number of boats out in the fleet already. So if we get, a good handful of electric boats out there with those, it doesn't, it's a drop in the bucket. But if we focus on, sustainable fuels and how we might fuel that existing fleet out there already, that really changes our carbon impact in the world and sustainability as well. And I think that's kind of where the direction of the industry is starting to go. And then you have, these concept ideas too that, from Yamaha and their hydrogen outboard.
Right.
Is it viable right now? No. But, could it be down the road? Possibly. And I think it's important that even though it's not, a working prototype right now, it's important to realize that the industry is doing something about it. And we're not just focused on just electric. That's not to dismiss electric. I think there's some cool things happening in the industry around that as well. We're seeing more and more electric outboards come out, as well as other propulsion ideas within electric as well. So I think it's cool to see our industry look at, every avenue as we look towards sustainability.
Yeah, we went to American Boating Congress in Washington, D.C., and Suzuki had a sustainable fuel outboard that they, brought up on a boat from Florida. So they've been active. As you said, Yamaha, Brunswick is spending millions on both electrification and sustainable fuel, has an entire R&D department and a C-suite level person heading that up. So there is a lot of activity, improved hull designs. I mean, it's the total package. So there's two things I want to say about that. One is that so far with electrification, what we're hearing when we talk to manufacturers is that the people they are selling electric boats to are typically first-time buyers. They're new to boating. We're not taking market share from some other category. We, the collective we, are literally finding people that didn't necessarily like the sights, the sounds, the smells of boating, but said, yeah, I'll take a pontoon that I can recharge overnight and putz around the edge of the lake for 3.5 hours. Perfect use case for that. We know that electric won't fit all like water sports, offshore fishing, things like that. Electric will be challenged. But the other thing I want to say is that, there are 12 million registered boats in the country, and hey, a lot of them are really old. So we're not going to, again, the collective we're not going to convert that fleet overnight or even in the next coming decades. But you can put sustainable fuel in each one of those 12 million boats right now. We had, again, at Elevate, we had Jess Hewitt, the president of Hyperfuels, who's been very active as a company in the development of sustainable fuels, and he has tons of research showing that not only is there no drop off in performance with sustainable fuels, but in some cases they've even had an increase in performance. So there's no reason that as an industry we can't become a little more eco-friendly and kind of lead the way in some of these designs. So it's cool to see, and you know, who knows what shape it's going to take in the future, but I'm glad to see they're talking about it, and that it's, you know, still a talking point at the boat shows.
Yeah, most definitely. I think one thing that, that's important to note before you move on from this too is, you mentioned Jeff from MMA, and I don't remember the exact percentage, but our carbon impact as an industry is a fraction of a single percent.
Yeah.
So I think that's important to note. That doesn't mean we can't ignore it.
Right.
I think, like you said, I think it's cool we're looking at it as an industry, but I think, I think the focus should be, it all boils down to infrastructure, whether it's electric or sustainable fuels. It's setting up that infrastructure so that we can be more sustainable. And I think that's kind of the main point of everything that we're looking at as an industry right now.
So you are a PWC guy. I'm a wake sports, water sports guy. PWC's with the wake sports section as sector has been strong the last few years, kind of leading the way. PWC actually kind of taking over the top spot. What do you hear about the categories and specifically about PWCs and how strong sales have been?
Yeah, I think that was one thing that, Frank really kicked off his industry speech with at Miami, was looking at the PWC market. And then if you look on the opposite end of the spectrum, kind of the super yacht side, those are the two categories that are really still shining post-pandemic. We're not seeing them normalize quite at the same rate as we are some of the other segments of the market. PWCs have my heart. It's the adrenaline side of it for me. But yeah, I think that market, I think it really, on top of being, a rush and adrenaline thing for people to get out on the water, and it's a way for people to get out on the water, with either one other person or even by themselves. It's a little easier. But then on top of that, looking at bringing in younger people in the industry too, it's a little more cost effective. I know when I was looking at getting out on the water, it's, a boat for me at the time meant another vehicle purchase as well. Right. So it wasn't just a boat purchase. I had other things to think about, and whereas the PWC could be pulled by the vehicle I had at the time. So I think there's a little bit more ease of entry, and I think that kind of lends itself to that segment to be a little stronger than some of the others as we kind of go into a normalization period.
Yeah. Well, we are heading into the period where we're going to beginning to think about the next Boating Industry Elevate Summit Conference. And we have a date, we have a place. It is January 19th to the 22nd. We're going to be at the downtown Charlotte, North Carolina Sheraton. So it's just about a block from NASCAR Museum. We're trying to work on some NASCAR partnerships, some things that might be really fun to take advantage of that setting right in the heart of NASCAR country. So super excited about that, and 10 months out, but not too early to begin thinking about speakers, content, and agenda, and putting that on your calendar. So we'd love to see you there. I'm promoting. Oh, there it is. With my pullover. But again, January 19th to the 22nd, Sheraton in downtown Charlotte. So we are right on the cusp of the 2024 selling season. So again, Adam, having been in Miami, walking the docks, talking to everyone, are you optimistic? And do you think the industry's overall pretty optimistic heading into this selling season?
Yeah, I would definitely say I'm optimistic. I do, echo a lot of thoughts that Frank and some industry members have shared. We've got some headwinds, but we as an industry have always had headwinds. Yeah. That's never, it's slowed us down a little, but it's never stopped us. Yeah. And I think that's the cool thing about the recreational boating industry is, like, people love to get out on the water. We as an industry sell fun. We sell memories. And I think that's the important thing we need to remember as we go into these headwinds in the selling season. those are the things we need to hit on, and those are the things we need to remember. And I think it's fair to be optimistic, but it's going to take some work, and that's okay. But I think that echoing that to yourself and your teams, I think that's the important thing. And I think as long as you keep your foot on the gas, I think we'll come out stronger as we always do.
Yep, absolutely. Well, we'll take that, and I think that's a good place to leave it. So hope you have a awesome 2024. Thanks for being part of our Boating Industry Elevate audience, part of our Boating Industry Insider audience as well. So Adam, thanks for being here. We'll have to make sure that we don't let so much time elapse between your first appearance on Boating Industry Insider and the second one. So I enjoyed the conversation.
No, likewise, David. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
And thank you again for listening. I'm David G., host of Boating Industry Insider. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe. We'll see you on the water. So long, everyone.